Good day to you, my fellow friends of Dragonbane. Are you ready to go on a grand adventure? Well, follow me, my friends. Grab your swords, your bows, and your axes. If you have the grit, my friends, come with me as we travel the path of glory. Let's go.
All right, guys, let's take a look at Dragonbane Path of Glory. This is the first campaign in the beloved Dragonbane RPG. I love it. I've had it for a while, but I finally finished it with my buddies. It took us quite a long time, but we really enjoyed this. So Path of Glory was the first major adventure campaign released for the original Swedish edition of Dragonbane, Drakach och Demoner. In 3 installments during 1985 and 1986, you had the Dead Forest, the Gates of Power, and Heart of Darkness. And in this edition, it's reimagined and updated for the new system mechanics and everything. And the original author of those games, Roger Unhagen, collects the trilogy in one single volume. So he wrote like the first 2, and then the third one, somebody else came back and wrote that back in the day. So they got the original guy who wrote the first 2 to come in and kind of re-update all of it to kind of make it one huge cohesive story, which is really cool. You got these Minotaurs in here, and I'm not going to tell you all about them, but they're in here. They're in the first part. So the first part of the book, you get the first map, which is for the first part of the adventure. And then the back of the book, you get a map for the third part of the adventure. And the second part, you're in a mine. So a mine, they called it. So yeah, you don't really need a map there, but there is one inside. So you have the same thing. You have the Dead Forest, Gates of Power, Heart of Darkness. You get a foreword by the original author of the first one, which is pretty cool. You get some introduction of this adventure, and Free League does a really good job with Dragonbane. So I really like this because I'm not a prep guy, and I'm also bad at remembering stuff and taking notes, so I just kind of don't. So I like that it's very sandboxy. So what I do is I don't like go through one thing at a time. I kind of get the gist of the campaign, what they want to do, kind of like adventure ideas, adventure points, and like the theme, and then I kind of tie it in because my guys are totally going to go off the tracks anyway, and I want to allow them to do that. I'm not the storyteller. I just kind of let them do, and I just kind of say if it's cool or not. So I want to, if I was too tied into the adventure, I wouldn't allow them to be able to do too much. So I like kind of taking the history of it, getting that kind of in my noggin a little bit, as much will be in there. And then I kind of, adjust it on the fly. But what's really cool is there's different factions in here, and here's one of them. It's Dakoth. He's this necromancer who's after the Heart of Darkness. So it kind of talks about that. So right here, it kind of goes over those 3 powers. Sathmog, the demon, that's in the first core set. He's one of the kind of overlaying bad guys kind of in the background. You got the Keepers of the Immaculate Flame, which are these dragon knights from old, and Dakoth, the necromancer. And they're all after the Heart of Darkness. Art, awesome as always. You got the adventure opening. So you can kind of jump in here, any jumping off point, but they do recommend that you have like some skills around 16, I believe, and maybe 1 or 2 heroic abilities. So before we played this, I had the guys, because I already played the adventure with some other group, and then my new group was really cool. We played this, so I had them go through 2 other separate little adventures I got off Kickstarter or whatever, just small adventure zines. I had them go through those to give them a little bit of power. So when they start off, they kind of come into this town, and they come across this inn, the Hungry Hobgoblin. Then there's going to be all these rumors for these 3 keys, and they're going to be trying to search for those. So that's kind of a nice opening sandbox. There's a whole bunch of rumors and adventure sites they can kind of go on and try to find these 3 keys to the to open the gates of power, which is the end of the first one. And here's just another map with all these cool places they can go: the Chasm of Caves, Stormhand's Lair, the Hermit's Tent. Here's where they're going to end up: the Gates of Power, the Hungry Hobgoblin Inn, Elusia's house, and the Old Barrow, which they never went there, unfortunately. They didn't buy that hook. They didn't go for it. And you got the Temple of the Winds, which is the beginning and end of this story. You got a whole bunch of random events that you're going to be rolling on as a kind of, basically not really a hex crawl, but kind of point crawl. You can kind of take like some measurements here of basically how many times you're going to roll. If they're on the path, I kind of have them not as much roll, and if they're off the path, they roll a bit more and maybe get higher on this, because it's the higher you go, the more dangerous. You got these 2 Minotaur brothers that are kind of off in there. Is some fun stuff to run in the first thing. You got these hobgoblins. You got a wizard Stormhand. You got this knight in black, and you have Tephalas there. And then it just kind of goes here. Here's your adventure sites. You got the Temple of the Winds. You got Elusia's house. And what's really cool about these is that even if you play this game and run through it, like, what am I going to do when I'm all done with this? Well, you could kind of reuse these adventure sites in really any game you run. I mean, an Old Barrow, you could use that in Dragonbane on its own, maybe change the adventure hook a little bit, but you could totally use this as a quick adventure site. Just kind of, twist it up a little bit. Or really any game. Shadow Dark would totally work with this. All you need to do is just grab different stat blocks, but you can use these adventure locations because they're really awesome. These maps are really cool, and the way that they do them is very OSC style. You just have a little description here and a couple points that you can read off of kind of what's going on there. The Chasm of Caves, which is where all these hobgoblins are kind of hanging out there. And you got these big trolls too. There's a troll cave. So you get to go through there. You get to kind of meet up with this hermit who might guide them, which is cool. And then you get the Gates of Power. So they're kind of looking for that Heart of Darkness. And there's all these rumors about where it could be. And the first point it kind of leads us to is to get those power artifacts and open the Gates of Power, because there's a rumor it was last seen here. So here they are kind of opening the gate. And then this is a dungeon delving area. You got this cool Death Knight, which is really cool, and his lieutenants. You get Daz and Gozar, who are really fun to throw in. And I don't just throw in monsters. Even my Skelly-Bob skeletons, they're always bickering. I like to have my undead kind of slightly conscious and living, and something like that. It's really fun. So when the adventurers kind of come up, they hear them bickering or fighting over something, like whose leg they're going to eat. But these guys, I played a little bit differently, but they're really cool. I really like that art of them. It's awesome. I love how he's missing his jaw, so you can kind of play into that. Maybe he's always looking for his jaw. I really wanted to throw this thing at him, but it just never popped up. So I'll have to reuse them somewhere else. So you do get a basic map of the mines. There is a timesheet that you can kind of go on and kind of check, because there's some mechanics about raising the alarm and when the Death Knight might kind of find them, and you can kind of use that mechanic. I didn't, because we kind of play 2 hours every weekend, 2.5, so I kind of play it a little bit more loose on that. So you got the Halls of Arrival, which is the first of this old dwarven realm. And here's the map to that. So you have a whole bunch of Skelly-Bobs in there, which is always my favorite. They didn't go see the ghost at all. There are a lot of rooms they didn't go to, like this, the Halls of Council. You start here, they just went right here. They were able to lockpick these difficult doors, and they went straight to the first Death Knight. Just immediately. They bypassed all of these crazy adventures, but that's cool. Let them do it. Who cares? And they just went right for it. So that was a cool, quick fight. They missed the Brandy Dragon, which is a bummer. But we had a big fun with these the orcs. again, they kind of came in here, did some stuff, and then went. They skipped a lot of stuff. It was kind of funny. And it'll be funny when they kind of go through this book now that they've gone through it and see what they missed or what they did differently or what I changed based on what they did. Like they totally didn't go for the treasure. They didn't want to fight the mana cores at all for some reason. I don't know. Why not fight 2 mana cores at the same time? It's always fun. But they did accomplish a great task. They freed all the orcs from this terrible like boss orc who was kind of working under Dakoth, that necromancer. So they helped to lead an uprising of other orcs. And then you have these mines. And there's these huge tunnels, which they didn't go to at all either. But here's kind of like a map of those tunnels, because they're after the Heart of Darkness as well. And then you kind of find out that the heart is not here. Of course it's not. It's over here. So they'll come out of the mines, which is really cool. There's like a log flume ride that they get to go on, which was a lot of fun. Get to use that seamanship skill. So that's always nice. So you have the Eastern lands, and then they kind of update what's going on as it's getting close. And I like this dragon and the demon fighting here. You get the new map, so you kind of get on this log ride, and you come out right over here. And then you have a couple more adventure sites. So you kind of want to steer them into the first one, but you don't have to. I ended up doing it, but that's just because it sounded good to me. You go to Stonemouth, and it's this cultists. So on the Eastern lands, it's super cool because they're all like worship Sathmog. They're all like demon cultists. This whole Eastern land is, which is really cool and really fun. But they're not like evil either, because there's really no, like the Dragon Knights nor the demons are really good or evil. I mean, maybe more selfish, but there's really nothing in Dragonbane that says the dragons are good and the demons are evil. They're kind of on this spectrum of, the dragons stand for law and the demons are more chaotic. But there's nothing that says the dragons are your best friend or the demons are necessarily just evil creatures. At least in my world, especially. But they do mention that. So you don't have to make just because they're demon worshippers. I kind of play it as both are kind of evil, like wicked kind of creature, wicked in that you don't really want to align with either one of them. I mean, you can kind of befriend is kind of a loose term, but you can loosely make pacts and relationships with them, but don't trust them, So you get to come here. You get to have the orcs and maybe the cultists team up, which my guys did. They were able to do that, which was cool. And they fought another cultist who summons a demon, and that was a very fun fight. And you get to maybe rescue this duck assassin, which they were kind of, will they, won't they? They ended up doing it, which kind of helped them a little bit. But it's really cool. So you have, once you get through here, and here's also a little taste treat, the magic of demonology, which will be a fully fleshed out magic school in the new Kickstarter with the Book of Magic. So that's cool. And here's a little taste. It's pretty cool. You get Beetle Swarm, which I used. The Gutworm I used. Summon Demon, of course, and Demonic Displacement. That's all really cool. So you get to kind of have this simulated battle, like giant Battle of Helm's Deep kind of thing you can play out. And you kind of have these rolls and kind of what happens if it's successful or fails. So it's kind of like a simulated large-scale battle, which is really fun. Then they're going to go to OTAG and try to find some rumors about where the heart could be. So it's a little bit, I don't like to use the word railroad, but it's kind of a point. There's 2 points you kind of want to get to. But, you can totally skip it, too, if you want. You can have that data given to them in another way. So we're going to get to Godvindel's area, and he is a dragon monk kind of thing. And he's going to tell them, like, that they've been studying where the Heart of Darkness is. So now it gets opened up again, and he kind of says, well, it could be in these 3 areas, but I'm not sure. There's, like, this elven temple, there's these rune stones of where the the old dwarven backstabber who killed his sister and stole the Heart of Darkness way back when. He could be buried there, or maybe in this old tower. So they went to Ishel, which is really cool. They met the two frog dudes, which was super fun. I love that. And then they sailed across the lake. And luckily, on the way there, it was pretty easy going. But on the way back, they had to fight the sea serpent, which was a very cool fight. Get a nice small tomb of the old elves that fought against Sathmog, which is very cool. A whole bunch of, a mummy. The Standing Stones, they did not go here. They did not bite on that one. That would have been kind of fun, but they went directly. I didn't call it the Demon Tower, but they went to the Demon Tower. So you get to go through this giant old forest. You get to fight an Int, which we did. That was super fun. And then you get you're gonna go up to the old castle, which is in the beginning of this adventure. Over here, somewheres. It's over. I swear it is. Where'd it go? There, up to here. So this is the old forest they get to, and then they get to climb up here and have the final battle. So there's this raven. There's a lot of ravens here, and one of the ravens there is gonna come back in the end. But as they go through here, it's a complete demonic tower. There's these demonic guardsmen, which looks super awesome. And they kind of guard this old temple to Sathmog, which is very cool. They kind of go up the tower at the top. This is the old crypt. And inside there is where the Heart of Darkness is. And we have this old hag, the raven. She transforms and this old troll. She just... they could have befriended her, but of course they didn't, and they fought her, and then in the meantime, Dakoth comes up here. He also appears, and he comes up here. And now that we have this 3-on-3 fight going on, well, not 3-on-3 fight, different people going up. I mean, they could have sided with one of them to try to take out the other, but they just went, balls to the wall and just fought everybody, because that's what you do. But one of them managed to get the Heart of Darkness. They snuck in there, this little hobbit halfling dude. So that was really handy for them. The Skelly Bobs, Dakoth has his henchmen come up as he's leading this giant undead army across the land. The duck comes back. I ended up not having the duck come back because they did something different. So when they defeat one of the creatures, the troll, Dakoth, now the Dragon Rider just comes flying in here. So I had it. They killed Dakoth first, and they kind of are talking with this troll after they're kind of mostly defeated it. And now they're trying to be no, blah, 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 blah. They're trying to convince it to kind of, allow them to take the heart. They're in this final battle with the troll, and then the dragon just incinerates the troll, flies down, and just is looks at them, hand over the Heart of Darkness. And then I ended the adventure right there, and they're oh my God, what's happening? I didn't have the duck come in, but you can have her come in and now attack the Dragon Rider and shoot a paralysis dart at it. So the Dragon Rider falls off, the dragon just curls around him, and then they have to kind of prevent the duck from getting away with the Heart of Darkness now. So it's this big chase craziness. But they didn't, that didn't happen. But they were able to convince the Dragon Knight to let them keep the heart, because he was just going to destroy it. And if he just destroyed it, then the dead forest would just continue to be dead, and you wouldn't lift the curse. So they were able to convince him that they would destroy the Heart of Darkness, but first they have to destroy the curse. And the only way to do that is go back to the the Temple of the Winds back here in the dead forest. And then they get there, and there's this in the temple, the destroyed temple. Then as they're going to put it on the altar, you're going to get Sathmog appears, which is a very cool fight. there's not much. They cannot injure Sathmog. They can try, but they cannot. And he just has this demonic waves that keep kind of pushing out. Starts with a D6 damage, D8, D10, then D12 every round. In the meantime, they have to use their willpower and try to get to this podium as he's trying to like prevent them. And they have to put it on there, stab the heart of darkness with this blade that they got. And then once that's over and they're able to do that, then it ends. But whoever kind of destroys the heart dies in the meantime. But it was a really cool ending because the same player, he had two characters die. The first time at the very end of the Eastern Lands, he was in the Temple Otag, and then he was just killed by another Death Knight. But he did save them because he blasted the crap out of it. But that Death Knight kind of killed him when it was on its last legs, and he just couldn't recover. So he died. They got the next session, essentially, after they got through that and defeated that Death Knight in that temple, there was some dude, some wizard up top being like held prisoner. They lowered him, and that was a player's new character. And then the wizard was the one who ended up destroying the heart. So when he destroyed the heart, I had that other character come in and kind of take that wizard. The player kind of said he's going to reach down for him and take him to the ends. But actually before that, I also had that character, which is really fun if you have dead characters, kind of bring them back in as like spirits is always fun for the players. But so I rewind a little bit. So when they put the Heart of Darkness up there, and Sathmog just finally basically knocked them all out, then that old character came in, Final Fantasy-esque, like before the battle with Sephiroth, and he just kind of gave them just a healing spell and healed them all up to full because I wanted them to be full for the battle with Sathmog. I think that would be more fun. And then my player was like, I almost cried. It was like, man tear, he held it back. It was just grit in his eye, but it was very emotional as that character came back and just kind of had a mana and just, boo, I heal you all, and good luck, my friends. They kind of killed the heart, got Sathmog away, and then they died again as they pierced the Heart of Darkness. That was a little bit crazy. I don't know if you followed what I'm saying, but most people don't because, I don't know, I got goop for brains and I go off on tangents. But hopefully that kind of made sense. I don't know. That is the Path of Glory. It is a super awesome book. I love it. It was great. It was so great. All my buddies, they loved playing it. So very highly recommended by yours truly, Wingus, and also my buddies. And we are the three amigos. You can't go wrong with this book. You can't go wrong with the Dragonbane, and you can't go wrong with Free League. So, yes, go pick it up. Pick it up right now. Until we meet again, here at the same channel, I bid you a rocket punch. Goodbye. Rocket punch! Later.